Tombstone hearse. It is trimmed in 24-karat gold and sterling silver. There was only 8 of that model ever made. That is the only one still known to be in existence today. It was built in Rochester, New York by the Cunningham brothers. Then you'll go down a set of steps. That takes you downstairs into our poker room. There you'll see the wine cellar. Still has the oak barrel stacked up in it, left over from the 1880s. Now, the 2 poker tables that sits down there. That is where the West longest poker game was played. It's in the Guinness Book of World Record, folks. It lasted for 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days, non-stop. There was a waiting list. You might have to wait 2 or 3 days to hear your name called for a seat. But then when you did, you better have $1,000 in hand, because it wasn't waiting. In today's money, that is $30,000. So it brought the big boys to town. People like Matt Masters, Diamond Jim Brady, George Randolph Hearst of the Hearst Fortune, and one of our favorite people in these parts, Mr. Adolphus Bush, founder of Anheuser-Busch Brewer Corporation. He would actually come here 4 times a year just to play in that poker game. Now, they are 2 large bordello rooms. They are fully furnished, full size, $40 a visit, and one of those rooms was occupied by that beautiful lady. That is Josephine Sarah Marcus. She worked here from 1881 to 1882, and her and Wyatt Earp did meet downstairs. They fell in love. She became Wyatt's 3rd wife, and they was married for the next 47 years until his death in 1929. Now, for those of you that watched the movie Tombstone, and I'm sure most all of you have, they portrayed Josephine as being this very flamboyant actress going all over the countryside performing, living in rich hotels, living on fruit service. Folks, you can throw that bucket out the window, it won't even hold the slop for your hogs. She was a lady of the evening, plain and simple. She had ran away from home at age 14, had already been arrested once before arriving to Tombstone. Now, we had 16 gunfights, 26 people were killed. They are over 140 bullet holes throughout the building. Not all your bullet holes was caused by gunfights. Biggest part of them, drunk cowboys, entertaining ourselves.
That's okay.
That is a 45 caliber bullet hole bar post.
I'll give you
Been in out 130.
Welcome to the Birdcage Theater. I'll tell you how I do the ghost tours here. I'm going to take you so that you can see every original area of the building this evening. Before we go from one area to the next, I'll make sure to ask you if you have any questions at all about anything that I covered, anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to know more about, but I make sure that I ask you that, so just hold on to those questions until that time. And I can tell you now, the first question that you have is going to be, can I take pictures on the tour? Absolutely, you can take pictures on your ghost tour. I recommend that you get a photo of that sign that's on the back bar right there. That sign at the very bottom has an email address. Okay, you can send any photos, any videos, any voice recordings that you think might capture something paranormal. So yes, you're also welcome to do some voice recordings and some videos as well. We just cannot record the entire tour. So the town of Tombstone was founded thanks to that man right there, to the right of the cow's head there, Ed Schiffelin. He was an avid prospector back in the day. I think of him as kind of a gambleaholic. He was convinced that he was going to find the mother lode if he just kept at it, and he did. At one time, he was actually working for Fort Huachuca as an Apache scout, but really, this was just a way for him to have a convenient means to prospect. He had a mule, and he could carry all the equipment that he used to prospect, and everybody knew that that's what Ed was really doing out there, going to find is your tombstone. So, when Ed did strike that mother lode, of course, this place, this boomtown, had to be named Tombstone. Thank goodness, because predominantly before that, people had called this area Goose Flats. It doesn't have the same ring. No, it wouldn't make a very good movie title either. However, Ed continued to prospect until the day he died, literally. I believe he was found in his prospector's cabin, having passed away. So definitely lived a very full life, this man did. It was even written, I believe, in a piece of paper or in a diary or something like that, that indicated that he had found another strike that he thought was going to be the new mother lode to end all mother lodes, but unfortunately that place has never been discovered. So, this is how any boomtown is born. This isn't unique to Tombstone. That first prospector finds that first strike, and miners will start pouring out after them. And then the merchants will pour out after the miners. The ladies of the evening are never far to follow behind them. And that is how you get the population explosions that were known as boomtowns. Now this one here, this town, grew to be 18,500 people, but that's not really an accurate count to the census because only white men were included in those counts. So ladies, people of color, children did not get included in the census. That tells us a lot about the time. One of the things that tells us is that there were an awful lot of people packed into a really small space. So we all know that can lead to some pretty crazy lifestyles. Just think about the dangers and the stresses of working in the mines alone. And of course, we all know that some pretty crazy lifestyles can also lead to some pretty untimely deaths. And at least 26 of those happened here in the Birdcage. So this was a very popular establishment back in the day, the Birdcage was. It wasn't just a theater. This was also a saloon, a gambling hall, and a house of ill repute. Now, every 12 hours, 4,500 thirsty, lonesome miners would change shifts in the mines. And this is a phenomenon that they referred to as the anthill. Man's just spent 12 hours working, risking his life. This is a popular place for him to come. Now, he would probably want to visit one of our ladies. Now, there were 3,400 ladies of the evening working in the town of Tombstone at any given time. And this street here was a very popular street for those ladies. It was the Red Light District. It's also known as Whiskey Row. But when a man walked in through one of these four doors that were open 24/7, I can guarantee you one of his first destinations would have been up that staircase right there. We call it the Stairway to Heaven because it led to the cribs where those ladies did their entertaining for $25 per visit. Now, every figure I name, multiply times 30, and that would give you a good idea of what that would be in today's money. That was about a full week's pay for a lot of these miners, but if you look at those stairs, and you're more than welcome to, you can see that the top three have been worn down to the thinness of a poker chip, giving testimony to all that traffic going up and down. Then from the top steps, ladies could also take their callers across that suspension bridge, very aptly called the catwalk. And that would take them either to the cribs on this side, or it would take them to the dumbwaiter at the end of the bar. And this ingenious dumbwaiter hoisted up anything those men ordered while they were upstairs. That could have been beer, wine, cigars, cigarettes, whiskey, champagne, whatever was available to send up to those men from the bar so that they didn't have to come back downstairs until they ran out of silver. Oh, yeah. So people ask, well, how long was a time limit on one of these visits? I'd say probably till he ran out of money. It's a long-standing Birdcage tradition. Nobody left here with any money still in their pockets. We've all heard the expression, you don't have to go home, but stay here. Yeah, pretty much. Now, over here is also a key focal point of this building. That has been the original owners and builders of the Birdcage were Billy and Lottie Hutchinson. I think of them as the masters of Plan B because they had so many misadventures in getting this place from the planning phase to where it was actually up and going. So originally, the bar and the back bar were made in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and supposed to be put on a train as soon as they were done being made and sent from Pittsburgh to Tombstone. But the railroad system took one look at those back mirrors in the bar and flat out refused to ship this whole thing. See, these mirrors are made out of diamond dust from Paris, and anything made in Paris back in the day was quite the to-do, whether it was glass, whether it was fancy dresses or fancy women, they were quite the to-do, and the railroad system felt that they could not ensure that they weren't going to break those mirrors, so flat out refused to ship it, leading to Plan B, which was to put this on a ship, literally, and sail this all the way around the Horn of South America. So why would it have to go so far?
Panama Canal.
A+. No Panama Canal yet. Hard to remember a time when there wasn't one, but it hadn't even been thought of yet. So it was a really big deal when things got shipped from the East Coast to the West Coast or West to East and wasn't put on a train. That meant it had to go all that way. So this trip that the Hutchinsons originally designated to take 1 month ended up taking 6 months. And the Hutchinsons were forced to have a second grand opening party for the Birdcage Theater. Dang it, that can't be bad news. But once this arrived, it was supposed to slide right underneath the catwalk right there. It was supposed to slide underneath the catwalk so the ladies who would stand up on it looked like they were floating and dancing across the top of that back bar. That would be a cool image. Their feathers in their hair, their colorful costumes, flimsy blouses. They didn't have to work very hard to entice those men upstairs. But that back bar isn't sliding underneath that catwalk, is it? So apparently, in the making of this beauty, somebody transposed her dimensions. So she ended up as wide as she should have been tall and as tall as she should have been wide. Ladies, we all have those days. No judgment here, but what are we going to do? And that is how the bar came to rest up against this east wall. And in so doing, the owners also had to decide to seal those 2 doors shut. And that is how it has stayed ever since that time. I always like to point out the print that hangs on the partition wall. First of all, that partition wall wasn't there until 1934 when the building reopened as a National Historic Landmark Museum. With all the history you probably learned about in Tombstone today, and hopefully you'll learn about from me, you would probably think that 50, 100 years is how long this town and this building lasted. It was less than 10 for the building anyway, and not much longer than that for the town. And people ended mining because the mines flooded. But people lived in hope that something could be done with that extra water down in the shafts and that mining would resume. So this building was basically closed, locked, and sealed, but nothing was really packed away. So not a whole lot had changed when the building was reopened in 1934. One of the few changes was the partition wall. That was added because, of course, nobody would pay to take the tour. You could still see all the way back to the theater stage, huh? Of course you would. So up the wall went, and that print that hangs on that wall to the right, the one to the right is my particular favorite. Both of them were painted by a man named Dick Axel. He's one of the finest watercolor artists of his time. But wait, that's a black and white print, you say. It's just been hanging in the sunshine for a really long time. We still have the color versions downstairs in the gift shop. But to me, the true genius of his artwork is the content anyway, especially the one on the right, because it even comes along with a group with a lot of people in it that was very much in battles with law enforcement for control of this area. Now, when I say law enforcement, I mean with the Earps in particular. So it's interesting to keep that in your mind, because when Mr. Hunley originally put these mannequins in the crib, Wyatt was in the center crib, and the mannequin in the center crib was where Wyatt is. So Billy, Mr. Hunley's son, my manager never did they really figure out exactly how this was happening. But at some point, somebody came along with a good idea about why they believed it was happening. And they said that they thought that the Earps really did prefer this crib right here, and that the Clantons really did utilize those two. And if that were the case, you can imagine that even now, they would not be welcome in each other's space. So that is how the suggestion was made to switch out the two mannequins, and that is how that happened, and Wyatt's hat has stayed on his head ever since that time. But when Billy first told me this story, I'm always one to try to think of any logical explanation I can before I assume that something is paranormal. So I noticed that technically Wyatt is standing in the hallway behind the crib, just as he was when he was over in that space over there. So could this really be a draft or a wind tunnel effect or something? Table, and over here in the corner we have Pharaoh table. We think it's always been in his spot with those chairs. Pharaoh was Doc Holliday's game. He would both play and deal from here occasionally. And Pharaoh was a game known as Bucking the Tiger because it was so geared towards the house that eventually it became illegal to play it for money at all. So gambling is a really high-energy sport, not physically, but mentally. I do believe some of the paranormal activity that happens back here is due to that residual energy. I've heard the sound of clinking when nobody was back here. People have said they've heard hands slap that table, the sound of chips bouncing, hitting the floor, and rolling. People have said that they've heard dice rolling across the dice table. Definitely the most dramatic thing that I've heard of is years ago, Mrs. Hunley tried to open up the building one morning, and she couldn't open that door that we just came through, so it was stuck. So someone had to come through the back door, figure out why that one was stuck, and it's because that naughty dice table was lodged up against it. So you see there's an outcropping of wall right there. It doesn't match the other side. It used to. But we added those walls for a storage closet. We think, though, that the dice table used to be there in that spot. And that it's quite likely that that dice table is just trying to find its way back home on that night. We're just super, super grateful it doesn't do that on a regular basis, because it did take 5 men to get the table back over here where we would prefer for it to stay. Now, this is the original theater stage. Still has the original hand-painted curtain hanging on it. And I can tell you the first thing that people usually say is, it looks smaller than I thought it would. It does, because we have the curtain set at the smallest setting so that we have more space backstage nowadays. But in this early vaudeville circuit time period, pretty much anybody that performed here at the Birdcage at one time or another, and whatever space they needed could be provided by setting that curtain back at a further setting, so that would make the stage deeper and also wider. An interesting thing that has happened on the stage is people will see a man walk across it, and the same description of this man is given every single time. He's wearing a brown pinstripe suit. He's got a clipboard in his right hand, and he walks from this side of the stage to that side of the stage every single time. And we think that that could be Charlie Keene, who was both the head stage manager and the head bartender back then. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and these players had to have at least $1,000 buy into the game. And the house received 10% of the $10 million that changed hands over that period of time. So famous gamblers of the day, not regular gambler folk like most of us, would buy into this game. Diamond Jim Brady, Bat Masterson, he was also a famous lawman. George Randolph Hearst and Adolphus Bush of Bush Brewery will buy into the game. Now that chair that's tilted up against the table was done so to signal to the man who sat in this chair right here, the game manager, that he had to go find the next person on the playlist before, because he had just run out of his $1,000, even though his minimum playtime of 24 hours wasn't up yet. So the next person on the playlist wouldn't think it's their turn already since the 24 hours wasn't up. The game manager had to go find him. But remember, Allen Street, 16 blocks long, had 106 saloons, and no cell phone to let Bob know it's his turn. So this game manager had quite the work cut out for him in finding that next person on the playlist, but that would at least give the men who were opportunity to take a break. It was really the only break that the game took. So they could go in that third door down. It was a restroom. And they could go to the bathroom. They could splash water on their face. They could stretch a bit. And then, of course, return to the table when the next person on the playlist came along and the game resumed. Now, these two doors here lead to the bordello rooms, which were $40 rooms as opposed to the $25 rooms upstairs. And when you look in there, you can see why. They had pretty much every modern day convenience that was available for the time period. Beautiful hand-painted wallpaper, lovely chandelier, pretty decor, a full-size bed, a heat source, and a $40 lady that went along with that room also. At the end of the hallway, you see that there's a graded entrance that leads into a storage area. Now before, when the building was active, that storage area was used for the whiskey and the wine kegs. So the people that served alcohol here, when they needed to replenish that supply, would go into the liquor storage room there. Now when you look in there, you can see that pretty much anything that's been dug up in the area, that's been found, that doesn't end up on display, kind of finds its way into that storage area. It's pretty jam-packed, not a safe place to go gallivanting around in, so we don't do that. So people ask us if we catch paranormal things on our surveillance cameras, and they ask us that quite a bit. So I'll tell you, there is a surveillance camera right there, and somebody did see, both with their own eyes and through the camera, a lady walking up the hallway, and she was dressed in Victorian garb, and she got to the end of the hallway and disappeared into that cellar storage area. So this was a really high alert thing to have happen, and immediately an employee came to retrieve the lady back out of the storage area. She wasn't in there. She wasn't in the hallway, and the lock was still intact. Now, sometimes people will rent the building for investigations after the last ghost tours. Ghost hunting groups will do that. And there was one that investigated. I attend those whenever I can, and I had asked them if I could just stay down here by myself while they worked somewhere else in the building. So I parked my chair right there, and the reason I did that is because I knew that the one place in the building that I might be a little bit uncomfortable by myself in the dark would be right there by that cellar room. And so I even said out loud, if anybody really wanted to get me good, because I'm a little bit nervous. So within a couple minutes of the guys being upstairs investigating, I started hearing things falling down next to me in the cellar. And so I told myself, oh, you know what, I bet that just happens all the time and we don't even notice it. Or I bet it's because they're walking around up there. They're probably knocking things down. So after a couple times I started to lose my nerve and I called upstairs. I said, are you guys still walking around up there? And they said, no, we're facing opposite directions to make sure that we don't move. And so then I started to get a little bit unnerved, and one of them came running down in time to hear it happen again, which is one of the reasons you don't want to investigate by yourself, so that you have witnesses to corroborate the things that happen. And he definitely agreed that this wasn't no mouse. If there's anything back there that's living bigger than that, I definitely think we'd have evidence, probably pretty disgusting evidence that something bigger than that was living back there. So more recently, I had that happen again. But it sounded like it was coming from a different area of the building when we were standing down here with a different team. And then within the last month, there was another investigative group where the ladies were working with dowsing rods. You've probably heard of dowsing rods. And she taught me an awful lot. She's very gifted with them, and she believes she connected with the person that is responsible for what she thinks are temper tantrums, and things being knocked down and things like that. And she believes he was a man that was angry because he had been shot during this game. Thought he'd come here to have some fun and make some money. And it all went down like that, and he was still very bitter. And the ghosts here knew that he was just a hopeless, angry man. You kids get off my lawn kind of guy. So we believe that we connected with him, that he's feeling much better about that. I know when I'm mad, all I want to do is have somebody listen to me rant, and then I feel better. Any questions about this area? The house. Always. So y'all ready to head back upstairs? lead, I follow. It's just another antique dime, but the original collector that collected a lot of the antiques that are here put that there as well. It does. I get asked about it quite a bit. So last week I remembered to ask the owner why. Why? Mariah, the boot hill hearse, and it buried everyone who needed to be buried between 1881 and 1917. And the Cunningham brothers out of Rochester, New York, made those vehicles. They only ever made 8, and of the 8, only the Black Mariah still exists today in its original condition. It still has that sterling silver trim around the top, 24-karat gold leaf trim around the windows. Those windows are the first to be made with the technology of curved glass. And it was purchased at the time for an outrageous $18,000. My car didn't cost $18,000. But Mariah did, and it's valued today by the Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan at more like $2 million. So there you go, our most valuable antique, and also tends to be the star of our paranormal tours. There's a sound. Haven't heard it for a while, hint, hint. But it sounds like this. It comes from the Black Mariah, and it's very subtle. So it's very easy to miss. It's important to be as still as you can during the lights out part of the tour so that we don't cover that sound up or anything else that we came to witness. My personal experience with things that are paranormal is that a lot of these things will be very subtle and very fleeting. And people that don't believe me are people that are really big fans of the ghost hunting shows, where you get to, and I am too, but on those shows you get to hear at least once per episode, did you hear that run? Right? At least once. And those shows are edited really, really good for TV. So I'm not saying they're lying, but they're edited really good for TV. I find that most of the things are not going to be that dramatic. It can happen, but the rule is generally that things are going to be really subtle and really fleeting. I think because it takes so much energy for somebody that's here without their body to be able to let us know that they're here. So it will not be stationary, and it will not last for very long either. So it's important to stay as still as you can. We're all going to move. That's what we do. So if you move, just get in the habit of saying, that was my foot, or that was my elbow, or that was my chair. The reason I say that is because we'll also get tapping sounds sometimes from the floor or areas closer to us. We do get popping and creaking closer to the walls and the ceiling, which I think is probably just settling. It's an old building. But when it's closer to us and it's a deeper, more muffled sound, it sounds a bit like a cane tip or a boot heel or something like that, time to pay attention. And there have been numerous tours where I thought I just had somebody that could not hold still until the end of the half hour when they say, I keep feeling that under my foot and I haven't moved once. And I believe them because they sound like they couldn't move if they wanted to. But the point is that if you're experiencing things like that and witnessing things like that, don't let us think